Is it
Good.
okay? Ahmed?
If you go live, you're going to let participants in, right?
Yes.
We'll see the number.
Have you accepted participants?
Ahmed? Where did Ahmed go?
We are live now.
If you go live, you're going to let participants in, right?
Okay. So I closed the internet altogether.
Have you accepted participants?
Right, Ahmed?
Close the YouTube, please, Mr. Hussein.
Not to log out.
No.
Okay. All right. Let me admit participants. Admit all. We're just waiting a few seconds for people to come in. And we have Abdel Nasser just joined. Excellent. Yasser, Muhammad. Yes, there is no voice right now because we're admitting people, and we will be starting shortly. Thank you for asking. Right. Ahmed, can you take over the admission? Right. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us today. We're very excited to have Mr. Michael Fucilli.
It is Yahya from Egypt.
Thank you very much. And I would like, please mute yourself. And I would like, this is a collaboration between 4 chapters in the region: the Egypt chapter, Lebanese chapter, Jordanian chapter, and Yemen IIA chapter. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Hussam Fahmy, the president of the Egyptian IIA chapter, for working together with the other 3 chapters and his leaders, the board members, and would like also to take the opportunity to thank Mr. Eli Abi Murad, the president of the Lebanese chapter, and his board and the leaders of the Lebanese chapter, as well as thanks goes to Mr. Ahmed Al-Qawasmi, president of IIA Jordan, and his team leaders and the board for doing this. And very important to have with us today also Mr. Hisham Abdul Karim, the president of the IIA Yemen. And we thank him and thank his board for joining this event. Thank you very much. Yemen have all our support. So thank you, gentlemen, for working together to get this event going. Without you, it would not have happened for our members and for our professions. I would like also to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Michael Fiuccilli for offering to do this for our chapters. And this is very generous of you, Michael. Michael is a global leader, IIA global leader. I'm sure most of you know him. I don't have to speak about him too much because he's well known, and he's been speaking in the Middle East and teaching in the Middle East and coming with the IIA international conferences in the Middle East, and been serving on IIA global committees and boards. Michael is a CIA, QIAL, CRMA, CGAP, CFE as well. He retired as an Auditor General of the Metropolitan Transportation Authority, which is the largest public sector transit authority in North America. And he also a former president of the Internal Audit Foundation at the IIA Global. And he will speak to us about this a little bit briefly after the introduction. And he's a speaker, of course. And after his retirement, he's now providing consulting services, trainings, and more around the globe. He just spoke in annual conferences of other chapters around the world. And he's also an instructor of the CIA review classes using the IIA learning system. So thank you, Michael, again. This is an honor, a pleasure, and more. I mean, we can't say enough to thank you for taking your time and giving this opportunity to learn from your experience, and especially in a very important topic that you will talk about today, which is risk management and the new norms. After the COVID-19, what does risk management will look like? And are we agile enough as internal auditors and internal audit departments in our organizations? Are we ready for the new norm or not? Are we flexible enough to shift, switch, and change, and upskill, and all of the above to be able to provide our organizations with the expected value addition and help our organizations to come through the crisis? Michael, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Sam, thank you so much. And it's for me, the honor is all mine. There's 4 places in the world. And as you said, I was retired. And last year alone, just pre-pandemic, of course, I traveled over 300,000 miles. And in 2020, I had on my list to go to 4 places: Egypt, Lebanon, Jordan, and Yemen.
You're here?
I'm here now, virtually. It feels pretty good. I bet you it feels better in person, but it feels good for this way. So
Sure.
Thank you so much. I'll say Manshallah, if I may say,
Yes.
Did I get the right one? It's either Manshallah or Inshallah. It's Manshallah. Inshallah. I want to come there. Inshallah. Yeah. But welcome everyone. And yes, from my accent, you could tell I'm from New York City. So please, not only are we going to teach you how to do some risk assessment during these crazy times, but also how to get a New York accent. So we'll tell you how to speak New York for a little bit. But welcome, everyone. And it's a good topic to know. So thank you, Eli, Ahmed, and the gentleman,
Hisham.
Yes, he left. I can't see his name here now. he left, but welcome. And we have almost 100 strong. So, and on YouTube as well. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And if you have any questions, please put it in the chat as I get into talking. Hussam, if please interrupt me. If
Sure.
you see that there's a question, just pay my attention because I don't really read the chat while I'm speaking. You know,
Sure.
sometimes I'm just thinking and don't pay attention to it. So just yell it out to me. But I was glad to definitely get this invite and glad to see the IIA, the IPPF, the standards that we all talk about in Arabic. So beautiful, beautiful
Right.
to see that as well. And I have a question about that later on. So
I must say, kudu goes to Lebanese chapter.
yes, they
were the leaders to do that.
Yes, yes, it was very good. Is that gentleman, you know him in the picture?
Which one?
On the
Giselle?
left, yes, in IA Lebanon, the man speaking at the DS.
Yeah. But so many of them got it in Fayyad. You know Fayyad.
Yes.
He also
Beautiful.
was leading the chapter at the time. Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful. So
Naji
quick
Fayyad.
Magic
Naji
Fayyad.
Fayyad, yes.
Magic Fayyad.
Naji.
Naji.
So a quick poll, just in the chat, if you want to answer a question. In 2017, my son married someone from one of these 4 countries. If you could put in the chat, guess which one you think. And I am Italian descent, so Italiano, io parlo italiano molto bene. That's why I think I love the Middle East, because Italy and Italiano are very similar. The way,
Right.
the culture, the family, the food. Alok says it's Lebanon. Let's get a few more people. Mexico, Ahmed, you're saying Mexico. Mexico, you think my son, beautiful country, don't get me wrong. It's very interesting. No one's going with US. No one is going to
Egypt, or no one is going, because he said from the 4 countries.
Yes, that's true.
So,
that's true.
So US
They
is
ordered
out.
this.
Italy's out as well.
US is out. Italy is out.
Guys, we're talking about about Lebanon, Egypt, Jordan.
That's true. That's true.
Yemen.
That's true. That's true. So before I drive you all crazy, let me show you the answer. But my son actually did marry someone from Lebanon in the United States. Her parents, born in Saudi Arabia, moved to Lebanon about 40 years ago, and then living in Lebanon 30 years. And then the last 20 years, 25 years, they moved to the United States, and that's how my son met her. So it was a beautiful Lebanese wedding in 2017, and that's how I know the food. I love the food, love the country.
What's her name?
Patricia. Her name is Patricia.
Right.
Patricia. So as you can see, that's the culture with the wedding chairs behind and the colors, and it was, and of course they had the belly dancer, which for us was something new.
Yeah.
You know, it was a very well received. So thank you. But let's get to a poll, Hussam. Let's get a poll about, who's on the call here. We have 97. What has been the biggest challenge for your company's internal audit function during this pandemic?
I need to share.
Yeah, I got it. It came up.
It came up? Okay,
Yep.
Good.
I answered it. Let's see, and then.
You see mine?
No, I don't see. After I answered it, it went away.
Okay, here it is. You see mine? You see my screen now?
No, Eli, do you see it, Eli? No. I didn't let them answer, and then you'll see the results.
Okay. Please mute yourself.
Sure.
Well, it's important to listen to your wife, though. So please pay attention to that. That's a big risk if you don't do that.
All right.
You can share the results?
The when I end the poll, the adopting the remote workplace challenge is winning.
Okay. And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit, about being agile. How do you adapt to the remote workforce challenges? Here it is. Yep. 48%. Yeah, by far.
Right.
I see it now, but absolutely. I would imagine. And for internal auditing, it absolutely is a challenge, because internal auditing is a collaborative experience. Internal auditing is meeting with people, talking to people, getting information, giving information. That's what we do. So how do you do that remotely? Okay. And while you can do it with the screen, you can have virtual meetings like we're doing now. It is a challenge, as it shows. So thanks for sharing that. So let's talk about what we've been up against, for the past 20 years. We're going to talk about risk, risk in the world, you know. And I think that's a challenge that internal auditors have for management. What risk? Management wants to know, what risk don't I know about? I know about the risk of the pandemic now. I didn't know about it in 2018, 2019, but I know about it now. And as we are in 2020, what they want from us as internal auditors, what risks are out there in 21 and 22, 23, that we have to. But if you think about the last 20 years, what challenge it's been, just 20 years, it's not a long time. We had the Y2K, remember that? And no computers were going to work. Ahmed, you look like you're too young to remember that perhaps, but they had back then, businesses were saying, oh, it's going to be the end of the world. The computers won't work. It's 1999. And when it becomes the year 2000, the computers are not going to work. And so that was a big, big, big push to fix that risk. And then in 01, we had terrorism, around the world, in New York City here with 9/11 and the World Trade Center. 02, then Enron, WorldCom, fraud, more fraud, all kinds of fraud. Then we had SOX, and you're familiar with SOX, Ahmed and Ali, you've heard of SOX. It's an American regulation that talks about, hey, let's have management review the internal controls so we could minimize risk.
Sarbanes-Oxley, yeah.
Sarbanes-Oxley, by two senators, Sarbanes and Oxley. They were two senators. They came up with this legislation because whenever there's a scandal, whenever there's fraud, particularly in the United States, they come out with a new regulation. Okay, because what happens in the United States, they say this is terrible, this can never happen again, and we're going to have new laws. Now, one thing you have to understand, though, with these laws and 04, 07, SOX, and SOX, those regulations are fixing old frauds, not new frauds. They're preventing something that went wrong in the past from happening again. But they do not prevent new things from happening, new fraud from happening, and certainly not new risks from happening. And we'll talk about that because that's only a control. And the control, people get tired of controls. And we'll talk a little bit about COSO. And when I say when people get tired of controls, what that means is that they have the control, they know it's there, and they check it. Maybe they don't check it, but is the control really effective anymore? Then in 08, we had implosion of the economy. That's when big banks in the United States decided to give loans to people for houses, to buy houses that couldn't afford them, the loans, and gave multi-million-dollar loans to people to buy houses, and they couldn't pay them back. And they knew they were bad loans. This was fraud. And the economy blew up in 08. And then through 08 to really probably 17, 18, 2017, 2018, we've had this bad economy and we're trying to get out of it. And then for the whole world, probably around October, November, December of 19, certainly March, when I was in Las Vegas with Richard Chambers at the GAM conference, and we canceled the conference and we had to leave Las Vegas. Since March, we've been quarantined in the United States and probably the rest of the world with limited travel, limited association. The whole world changed. So no one could have predicted that, this pandemic. Although some people did, and what some people said, that will never happen. Remember those words, those 3 words.
Right.
That will never happen. Actually, it's 4 words. Let's add one more. That will never happen. Right. That's what management tells you when you do your audits. They say, you worry too much. Ahmed, you worry too much. You're an auditor. That's never going to happen. And it happens. And if you look at what's on this page for the last 20 years, what never could happen has been happening. So if you want to learn anything about risk and being agile, remember these words. That will never happen happens. And when you as an auditor get that pushback from management and say, look, you worry too much. You're an internal auditor. We have controls. We've been in business for 100 years. That will never happen. The subway in New York City, 9 million riders a day, went silent, got stopped. If you told me in 2017, I worked for the subways, that there would not be 9 million riders on the subway in a day, that they would lose 90% of the passengers like that, I would say it's impossible. That will never happen. It happened. And how do you operate in a world with 90% less revenue? So I think today, when you're talking about being agile, and we'll talk about what agility is and all agility is. And Hassan, what's the Arabic word for agility? Being agile, being flexible. What would that word be? What is the word
in
now?
Arabic?
Yes. What is the word?
In Arabic?
Yes.
Marin.
Madden?
Marin.
Madden. So Madden is agility. Be flexible.
Exactly.
And what do you know, particularly people around the world, are they flexible? Do people like change? No, they don't. Not right away, maybe in the long term. So as you do your audits, think about, Madden and agility and how it relates to risk, and that will never happen. And let me show you what's happened around just New York City, just where I live, 10 kilometers from here. That's the subway today in New York City when it rains bad. That's not a hurricane. That's not a bad storm. That's not the pandemic.
Wow.
That's rain coming down into the subway. How do you stop that? Look at the electricity. Look at the lights. Look at the risk. And management said, that'll never happen. It happened. Think about that with passengers being there. This was 9/11, the day that the World Trade Center fell into the subway. The subway was beneath the World Trade Center, the 1 and 9 train. Fortunately, there were no passengers there. But look at the beams going through the tunnel, the debris. And it took 1 year to fix this. And what management said, and I went to management, you're going to spend, billions of dollars to fix this. We can help you. I had an audit plan. I couldn't just say, well, I have to do my audits on my audit plan, and I'm sorry you have to spend money on the tunnel to fix it, but I can't get involved. So being agile means changing that work and taking that work that you have on your audit plan and changing it and doing what's risky now, because risk changes every day. It changes every minute, probably. We all get alerts all the time what's happening in the world. All those events are risk events that have happened that companies have to react to. So certainly this was an interesting day. This was in 2008. This was the tunnels in New York City with water. Eli, you don't have to be no tunnel expert, and you can just shake your head. Is there supposed to be water like this in the tunnel? Yes or no? No, right, Hassam? No.
No.
Hassam, Eli, you should be tunnel auditors. You know a lot. You could audit the tunnel. That's not supposed to be. Another tough question. Those are the tracks where the train goes. The tracks. You have trains in your beautiful countries. Is there supposed to be water like that in the trains?
No, it should be a boat, not a train.
A boat. And the other one could be a submarine. But,
exactly.
But you are now both tunnel and track auditors because you understand this. I'm not making a joke. You're using your common sense. Internal auditing is a lot about common sense. Understanding a process, doing research, and reacting to it.
Right.
So, really, I wanted to talk to you about governance, risk controls, and agility, because it's all about. You've heard it from the IA. All of you have. It's about governance, risk, and controls. Right. That's what we need to be concerned about, Ahmed, with auditors. With management, governance, risk, and controls.
Right.
But for the most part, what do auditors really spend their time in? Which of these three do you think they spend their time in? Governance, risk, or controls? They spend time in controls. Right? We check controls to make sure the controls are working. It's called compliance auditing. Yeah. But what I ask you to do is let's check the risk, because the controls only come from the risk. What's the risk? What's the control? We'll get to this question. Well, let's do this question now, and I can go to it. You're a little ahead of me. Let's answer this polling question. What type of auditing do you do mostly? Compliance, business process improvement, cost savings, or consulting? Where do you spend your time mostly? Maybe you do all four of these. If the audience will just pick one of these.
You have to pick only one, huh?
Only one. Where you spend most of your time, if you had to say, as a profession. I'll pick mine. I lost the screen. And Hassam, you let me know when you're going to.
Sure.
And then I have a question for Mohammed. 90% of revenue lost against what percentage reduction of costs? Initially 0, but I'll tell you one thing. Probably reduction in costs now, probably about 20%, 90% revenue lost because you cannot, not maintain the trains. They're still running some service. So I would say that the company lost 90% of revenue and cut costs maybe 20%, which is telling you they're losing money, hemorrhaging money.
So compliance.
Yes, and followed by business process improvement. Good to see that. Cost savings we'll talk about, maybe, it's a shame that it can be a little more. And then consulting, surprisingly, very good. But internal auditors primarily spend their time compliance auditing, checking something, which is important. Compliance auditing is, I have a policy, I have a control, are we doing it? But what companies want today is, tell me a better way to do things. So the Agile auditor today is thinking, understanding a process, understanding the business, understanding the company, and saying, how can we do this better? Now, let me get to that. So we have controls which come about because we have risk. What's the risk? If you have money in a room, the control is you'll get a safe or you lock the door or get a security guard outside. That's the control that addresses the risk. But someone has to say, is the money there? Is the money safe? Do we need that many security guards? Do we need a better safe? Should we keep it in the room? Do we need that amount of money in the safe? That's called governance. Of the three, governance is the hardest one because governance involves people. And I was taught 40 years ago when I started internal auditing, don't mention the people, don't audit the people. We don't audit people. We audit paper. Okay? We audit forms and we audit invoices and canceled checks and contracts. And that's true. But these papers were made by people. So today in 2020, you cannot divorce the people from the paper, if you can understand what I'm saying with that concept, because people are the ones making the forms. Now, this is a company. And let me tell you, this is your company because you all have revenue. You have finance, accounting, accounts payable, payroll. You have procurement, you buy things. You must. You have legal and regulatory. Certainly have technology and HR, third party. And then you have operations. Where your company is unique is in operations. Let me just get my annotate drawing. Where your company is different is here. But these other 7 functions are the same, no matter where you go in the world, no matter what company you work for. You all have HR. You all have these things. Where you're unique is here. So when I tell you to be agile, and when I tell you to audit the business, what I'm telling you is to audit, is to know, when I tell you to know the business, what I'm telling you to do is to know your audit at that particular moment. So whatever audit you're doing, whether it's accounts payable, payroll, claims, track cleanliness, track mitigation, whatever you're auditing, technology, know that area, because you need 2 things to be successful and to be agile as an internal auditor. Number 1, you have to know the business, but this is too big to know. You can't know this business in one time. It's too big. This is the MTA. This is IBM. This is Apple. You can't know this in one time, but you don't have to. What you have to know is the audits within these areas. That's what you have to know. Your audit in these areas and how one audit here, right? If you're doing one audit in operations, let's say you're doing revenue collection, how does it affect all of this? Because it does. Or if you're auditing revenue, how does it collect operations? Well, no money, no operations. So all of these departments are dependent of each other. And what happens is these in my company become areas of excellence. but they're very competitive against each other. And so as a force, they don't always cooperate with each other for the primary purpose of doing the mission of the company. And I'll get into that. So we did this question already, and it came up with compliance auditing. Let me answer this question. Good question, Hussam. The second poll. What type of services are the least challenging, in your opinion, the 97 people we have on the call? What is the least challenging?
Hold on.
I mean, it's not as hard to do. Same 4 that we have.
So again, compliance.
Yeah, I can see the answer. Can I show it on the screen? Oh, here it is. Compliance is saying it's the least challenging. And that is correct. Auditors get bored. They don't get as motivated doing compliance auditing, because compliance auditing, you're auditing against a standard. So if this was the standard, this is the standard, and you're going to audit against the standard, you read the standard and you design audit steps to test the standard. Okay, it's good, serves a purpose. But number 2, business process improvement, which was very high in your scores, is what changes the business. Because what's going on with COVID and the pandemic right now, and even post-pandemic when there's a cure, and inshallah, let's hope there is a cure soon. Business process improvement is going to say, how do we react to risk? Compliance is not. Compliance is how do we react to yesterday's risk, not tomorrow's. And if I may, in the let me just show you. What do companies want from us? I think I can write with my finger here. Companies are this. When you go to accounting school, even in the United States a lot, and I understand government, but government is like this as well. But this is a company. This is accounting 101. This is the most simple accounting formula. And what it says is revenue minus expenses equal profit. And a company would want more revenue than expenses to have profit, because companies want this. And yes, we want to save the world, and we want to be a good neighbor, and we want to be ethical. But companies want this, and there's nothing wrong with it. They want more revenue. That's what they want. So as internal auditors, by doing this one, and this one, you're going to tell management how to get more revenue, how to decrease cost, which is going to give them more and more profit. And that's the audit value proposition. Compliance auditing is important, don't get me wrong. It's necessary. I do compliance auditing. But a portion of my plan has to be business process improvement, particularly, as you said, someone said, revenue is down 90%. 90% in the pandemic. We won't know until 6 months, 1 year, who will be around, what company will be around. We won't know that, the effects of this pandemic in the short term. It's only going to take us, some months to know what happened. And some companies already have been going out of business. Hussam, in the United States, management, I've done many webinars in the United States, and I'm hearing and talking to auditors, and they're telling me that in their company, because, and let me get my writing tool again, back to my formula, companies are losing revenue. I heard the airline, United Airline, here's my airplane so I can fly now. This is my favorite airplane now. This is what I fly every day. I fly this every day. It's on my desk. We take off and then we land. And then we go over there. We're nice and I can see an airplane. That's the only airplane I see. Airline revenue in the United States is down 7%. Airline revenue in the United States. companies in the United States are saying, okay, my revenue is down, right? This is down 70%. I can't get revenue. And someone said very good in the class, we got to reduce this. Do you know what they're reducing first, Hassan?
What?
Internal audit.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because they're saying, listen, I don't need compliance. I don't need to tell you to tell me the timesheets are approved or the bill was approved. I don't need that. I have 70% less revenue. I may not be around. So they're cutting audit departments. Now, not all,
You know,
but a lot.
Yeah,
Yes.
and we know why. Because internal auditors are not showing
The value.
the value.
And what is value? That's an interesting question.
And what's value? How can, what we're saying, if internal auditors stay as traditional as they are, they want the documentations, they want the personal interview, and not helping, changing their plans when needed. And
we'll be out of business.
We will be the first to go. That confirms what you're saying,
yes.
Because after March and April, the whole world has changed.
Absolutely.
And is not going backwards.
Not going back.
So if you don't skill yourself to ride that move and wave to forward, you'll be out of business. You'll be the first to go.
Exactly. So how to be agile, how you should do?
Exactly.
Get your company's mission. Get your company's mission and get your, hopefully it hasn't changed much during the pandemic. It might change a little bit, but you have to do every audit you do, every test you do against your company's mission.
Right.
Because your company's mission is what keeps you in business. And by the way, keeps your job. Because company goes away, your job goes away. They're hand in hand. Okay. So here's a good poll. This was a company that I came across, Hassan.
Right.
And their objective, great objective, to be the #1 bank of choice in the country. A constantly innovating financial organization of the highest integrity.
Right.
Is there risk with that? Let's ask our pollers what we think of people in our audience. Is there risk associated with that mission? I'll answer it. I think it was waiting for me to answer. Give them a few moments and see what they say. So one thing I want you to all do from this, session today, and you may have it, but print out your mission of your company and put it up on your desk. And 86% yes, 14% if we were together, I would find out why you say no.
Right.
But in the United States, let me tell you how we would perceive this question. All right, you want to be #1 bank of choice? We don't like #2. That's what that's saying. Right? It's just not saying we want to be #2. It says we want to be #1. So you have management telling the employees, we want to be #1. You have the employees working and they're #2. Let's say we're working and we're doing and we're trying our best. We want to be #1, but we're #2. Management tells the employees, you're not doing a good job. You're not meeting the vision. What's wrong with you? This is the employees, not the audit department. This is what the employees are feeling because you're auditing the employees. So they have this pressure that they're not telling you, that's not in the policy and procedure. It's in the vision. So read your vision and see what are the pressure points, what are the stress that could cause a problem in the company, even though this is a good vision. And I'm telling you, it's these words here. #1 in the country, not #1 in your block, #1 in your city. And I've seen this #1 in the world, some places. I got the Apple phone. They want to be number one phones in the world. What do employees feel about that? Because it's hard to always be number one. That's for your sports teams. You want to do a goal to be number one, but it's hard to. And what other words are here that could cause risk? Constantly innovative, financially successful. What are the words that are causing? We want highest integrity. That's nice. We want to be respected. Okay. But when I see the word innovative, you know what I think? Because fraud is innovative. I can't do it honestly. You want number one? I can't do number one honestly. I tried. And I was ethical, and I had integrity. But you didn't like the results. You gave me a bad review. You told me I'm going to get fired. So I'm going to do it through fraud. That's why fraud occurs. That's why it happens, because people feel this stress. And, not fraud where I steal money and I buy a new car or I buy a house. I'm not talking about employee fraud. I'm talking about corporate fraud. That's why it happens. So look at your words in your mission statement, in your value statement of your companies, print them out, and then go audit against them. Yes, you audit against your policy, but audit against your mission and ask yourself, can they do it? Can they do it? Now let's talk about internal auditing, because this is what the IA says we are. Yeah, we're independent and we're going to be objective and we're going to consult, add value. Okay, that's a nice thing. That's what's value, though. I'm not sure. That changes, but we're going to add value. We want to improve things. That's not compliance auditing. That's business process improvement. Compliance auditing doesn't improve things. Compliance auditing just says you got to comply or not. And this says we're going to be a systematic, disciplined approach. That's field work to evaluate and approve. And here we go. Governance, risk, and controls. That's what the IA says. I would look at this too and say, how in my audits, yeah, I'll do compliance auditing, but how am I going to add value? Well, maybe you don't have to do all those steps. Maybe you could do it more efficiently, because let's go back to our chart and you write this. This is your number one thing. This is what companies want. Controls are here. They cost money. Controls cost a lot of money. Efficiency and effectiveness costs money. And a company is like a person. It grows up. It's born. And yes, it could die. And as it's growing up, it's adding controls. And the controls are on the company, and it's making the company go slow. So you as an auditor, yes, you do compliance auditing, but you say, which of these controls do I need or don't need? Which auditors don't want to do, because we are not like that. We are very risk adverse as a profession. As entrepreneurs, probably auditors are not good entrepreneurs, because an entrepreneur takes risk, and internal auditors don't like to take risk. So you have to know who you are. So you're trying to help an organization improve. You're going to try to make them take more risk. And we don't like to do that. That's why we go do compliance auditing, because it's safe. And I'm telling you, don't be safe. You go do that one audit and take that extra step to tell management how they could do it better. And this is your friend, COSO. ISO 31000, Coco, Cadbury, but in the United States, we have COSO, which other countries have used. So I ask you this, do you use COSO in your audits? We'll see when Hassan puts the Results up. Give you a moment to vote. Interesting, 69%. If we were together, I would try to get behind that number to see what it is. 30%, which is a large number, say no, I do. I want you to print this out. Hussam, you have something of equivalent in these 4 countries, or do they use COSO as a guide?
They use COSO as a guide.
As a guide. And the United States, they use COSO as a guide too.
As well, yeah.
But if COSO gets in the way, we throw it away. In business. COSO is nice when we're making money.
Right.
You know? And all of these things are. But COSO, first of all, is for management, not internal auditors. So you have to make sure, is management using COSO? Because we use COSO as a guide. But COSO was for management. And what COSO says, and let me get my pen again, my finger pen, fastest finger pen in the world. It says, hey, listen, you got to think about the control environment when you do your work management. And you got to auditing, you got to think about control environment when you're auditing these departments. Remember that circle? And the control environment is one word, attitude. What is the attitude in the company? What is the attitude of your employees? Do they care? Do they follow the controls? Are they ethical? Will they commit fraud? Those are the questions you have to ask yourself when you design your tests to be agile, to go audit against. Hardest one to do is attitude, because I could smile to you and I could tell you I'm very ethical, and very hard for you to prove it either way. That's why we like paper. Paper is either approved or not approved. It's easy, compliance auditing. It was not signed. See, it's empty. But if I tell you your employees have a bad attitude, much tougher problem, much tougher finding. It's easy to show you documentation findings. It's in black and white. Hard to show you control environment findings because you could fight me and disagree. Risk assessment is a management. You're running the business. You're paying the bills. Did you assess the risk? And if you assess the risk, what controls do you have in place? Control activities are policies and procedures. And then we say, okay, management, you paid the bills. How did you pay them well? That's information. And who did you tell? Nobody. Where companies get into trouble is information and communication. And that's why SOX is not effective. I mean, you can shock yourself, but it's been proven that SOC today is not as effective as it was. And in fact, in a lot of companies, it's not effective. It's become a paper exercise. Meaning, yeah, we'll go through the motions and we'll fill out the forms and we'll make everything look nice. But it has no truth to it. So what information do you have when you paid the bills? How many bills did you pay wrong? How many bills did you pay twice? And who did you tell? Meaning your dashboard, did you send it to the CFO, to the board? Who did you tell? And then how do you monitor? Hussam, have you ever heard the question, where were the internal auditors?
Absolutely. Where were you?
But this art of COSO is saying, where was management? Because they're there every day.
Yeah.
So if there's a fraud in a department, the department head say, where was internal audit? I say, where were you?
Ooh, exactly.
You're there every day. I'm not there every day. So monitoring is for management, and we monitor the monitor. That's what the agility will give you. Let's see, someone wrote something. Let's see what they wrote. Influence of internal audit in general, at least in my experience on governance, is very limited. Influence of internal audit in general, at least in my experience, on governance is very limited. You're 100% correct.
Right.
And we have to do more. We have to do more. You're not going to achieve this in one day. As compared to other aspects of IA, like compliance and controls. What are the means to change? You have to be in meetings and you have to talk and you have to say, when management wants to do something, I'm at the table and they want to do something and they want to do something that's wrong. not illegal, wrong. It's a difference. And I say, don't do that. That's not who we are. That's not the MTA way. That's not the Egyptian way. That's not, the company that you work for way. Because I bet you do work at an ethical company. Most companies are ethical and have integrity. There's great banks in the world, great insurance companies, great institutions in the world. Volkswagen is a great company. There's got to be ethical people there, right? So as internal auditors, you have to think about this governance piece more verbally than in your reports, because you're right. It's a very hard area to communicate against. Thank you for that question. And think about this. This is almost funny, Hussam. COSO came out with 17 principles. Exactly. And what it said is you have to tell management, and this is for management, you have to have integrity. Hussam, when you hire someone, you're going to ask them, do you have integrity?
No.
They should have integrity, right?
Absolutely.
But today we have to ask, do you have integrity? This is crazy, but it's true. We have to attract, develop, and retain people. How is morale in companies? Number 4. How is morale today in companies with the pandemic? Low. People feel bad. There's no raises. There's no promotions. It's bad times. Morale is bad. What does that tell you when morale is bad?
Integrity.
And what does it tell you a company has no integrity? Do you do more testing or less testing?
Right.
As an auditor, do we do more testing or less testing if we have no integrity in the company?
More.
More. But what do auditors do? They don't do more. They do the same. Like last year, because we did 30 last year, so let's do 30 this year. We can't audit like that anymore, So I brought you the 17 principles. We're not going to get into all of them, but these are nice for you to read and think about when you write your audit steps. Make sure you can get 17 steps of these in your audit programs. That's being agile. And ask management, how do you, number 10 or number 7, how do you identify risks, manager? Have you considered fraud? What is fraud? Ask them when you talk. You use this. These are your questions on your interviews. What changes have occurred? 9, since I've been here last year or in the last year during the pandemic. What have you changed? What controls, number 10, have you put in place? These are questions for you to use. People in the United States say, how do I use COSO? How do I use it? They agonize and they think. That's how you use it. You read it and turn these things into questions. And now you're using COSO. And then you read it and you turn it into audit program steps. That's your addressing risk. All these things are addressing risk. How do you communicate? How do you obtain information? 60% of information in organizations, I'm talking most organizations, 60% of information is not used or known.
Exactly.
So management is saying, tell me what I don't know. Well, you as the auditor, go audit this.
Absolutely.
You'll tell them a lot of I don't knows. A lot. Let me just clear this off. I get my writing. I get away from myself sometimes in my writing. Let me get my mouse back. The IAA just went on changed the 3 lines of defense model, for those of you who've heard of it, and have come across and said, and what they changed is our role. And what's changed on this chart, and I want you all to take this chart and copy it and put it up in your office with COSO, with your mission. 3 things you need: the mission, COSO, 3 lines of defense. If you notice the arrows are like this now. They're going back and forth, the arrows. Before they were one way. And internal auditing said, particularly on this one. oh, we can't help management. We'll lose our independence. What the 3 lines of defense is telling you, yes, you can. You need to help management. You just don't have to do it in an audit all the time. You need to be reactive. You need to be responsive. That's what audit agility is. That's what flexibility is. You don't hide behind independence. You could retain your independence and help management. Just send someone else to audit it next time.
Now is a good time to do that.
Absolutely. No better than now because of this pandemic. They need help. They need lots of help. You know, back in 1973, there was a man, Larry Sawyer. I had the pleasure to meet the man. He wrote the book on internal auditing. They call him the father of internal auditing, Hussam. I don't know who the mother is.
Let's not get involved.
Let's not get involved. But let's ask our audience. Have you ever heard of Larry Sawyer before I just said it?
Yeah, sure.
Let's answer it. Here we are. Let's see what the term is. But Larry Sawyer said it, and I met the man in 2000. He passed away now. But he said in this book, and it's a great book, 61% no.
That's a large number.
That's like asking the doctor, do you ever heard of the guy that wrote the medical book? No, I never heard of him. Would you let the guy operate on you? Probably not. Probably not.
Right.
But Larry said modern internal audit to be successful. Look what he said in 1973. That's why this guy was a genius. And we're saying it now. We got to have imaginative service. You have to have a continued campaign to sell yourself because nobody wants to be audited still. This is 1973, 47 years ago. It's a long time. And you must capture and keep management's interest. Do you think those auditors during the pandemic that they said bye-bye to and go home and don't come back, you think they were giving imaginative service? No, they were not. So this is what you got to do. You're not going to do this on every audit, but you're going to do it on some. This is what you're chasing for. When you talk about the value proposition of internal audit, I hear this all the time. People say, what's the value proposition of internal auditing? What do I need to give my company? It is this. This is what your company is looking for you, and you have the slides. You remember the risk, think the imaginable. I started that with you. We came back to that. So let's get into agility a little bit more. To be agile, you have to have agile people, which as human beings, we are not agile. We don't like change. We have to have an agile culture, which changes, and most companies don't have an agile culture. We have to have agile leadership and agile strategy and agile governance. But what this is saying to you is that we have to know how to change conditions. Does anyone here not wear a mask? I think we changed. You know, I never left my house without a mask. Osama, if you can, another 15 minutes, we're good. We started a little late. Osama, we're good? Another 15 minutes?
We're good.
Okay, good.
We have time, and
yes.
I see people interest in there. So
I only got 5 more hours, so we'll be good.
I'm here. Don't worry.
You got nowhere to go, do you?
No, I'm here.
I got up the lab. I got to light the lab.
I'm all devoted to this.
I'm in quarantine. I got nowhere to go.
Exactly.
When this is your plane, you have nowhere to go.
We are in lockdown now. So
we're in lockdown.
Yeah. So
let's ask this. Do you think we're agile?
Right. Sorry, Ahmed.
Oh, I got to answer it. I'd be interested in what they say. Are we agile? Is internal audit agile? What was the word?
Marin.
Wow, they think it is. I'm very surprised it's not the other way around. I don't think we are. I really don't think we are. We're doing things the same way. We really don't change much. But if we are, that's fantastic. That's good. You're listening. That's good, Elias. Thank you so much. Thank you. Let me see what someone wrote here. We concentrate to everyone. Let me see what wrote. We concentrate on the negative impacts of pandemic. Of course, it's negative by default. However, there are opportunities, for example, in case of passenger transportation system, is ideal opportunity. Absolutely, because there's no traffic on the trains. I can recommend utilizing these opportunities. Absolutely. What can we do to save money? That, what can we do now that we couldn't do? Maybe it's a little slow. Absolutely. Absolutely. Excellent point. Yeah, I think as a firm, we need to be agile more. But let's do this question. You saw it in Arabic in the beginning of my slides.
Hold on. That's 8. Done. And share. There we go.
And you have it in Arabic.
And you have it in Arabic.
Thanks to IA Lebanon.
Yeah, we have it in Arabic and in English.
Good. Let's see what they say, Hussam.
Shocking news.
What? You see it?
Yeah.
Wow, 30% have read it.
50-50.
Yeah, in 2020.
Yeah.
We're auditors. This is analytics now. What conclusion would you draw from this? If this was a doctor, if that was the answer to your doctor, did you read your medical book? Would you go to that doctor?
No.
No, absolutely not.
We are just as important as the doctors, in my opinion. Maybe a little more during the pandemic, but I'm talking as a profession. We have a very important profession. Our patient is the company.
Let me support the participants here. So a little bit. So if you are the CIA, you must have read the standards.
Well, because part 1 is the standards.
Exactly. In case,
but how many are CIA, Hussam?
In case it's not the you didn't come across the IPPF itself, the Red Book. It's included in the CIA material, part 1. So I made out. I don't know how many CIA that we have with us today, but
I could tell you.
More than 50%.
No, too high. I would say 1.5 in the United States. 1.5.
Really? Okay.
And may I say, in the United States, this answer to this in the United States is 80% no.
Right, and
80%.
I agree with Rawan here. Said that whether you are a CIA or not a CIA, you need to read the standards. And
100%.
I 100% agree.
But that's not the question.
Yeah.
Right. That's not the question I asked.
No. Yeah, you're right.
I agree with that statement 100%.
Right. Same here.
But that doesn't mean it's like when you're in the airplane and they tell you to read the thing in the seat.
Right.
The
instructions, yeah.
How many people take the thing out and read it?
Wait until
how many?
Wait until something happened and then you can't find it.
Where's the card? Where's the card?
You won't be able to find it.
Is the card going to help me? Here it is. What does it tell me to do? Wait, no problem. I have a seat cushion. I got a seat cushion. That'll help me.
Rawan said, repeat the question. The question is on the screen, Rawan. Have you read the IPPF? If you have read it or not, that's the question. And the answers was not at all, a little, almost all, and so on.
I've read it, yes.
Yeah, and
it's about 50-50.
It's about 50-50.
Which in the United States is 20-80, which 80 is no.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Which is telling you.
So we should not feel bad.
No, in fact, you should feel good.
Actually, we should feel good. Huh?
Mashallah.
Mashallah, exactly.
Mashallah.
Mashallah. But, mashallah, the Middle East is ahead of U.S.
Thank
in
you.
reading the IPPF.
Don't tell anybody this.
Don't
It's
tell
true.
anybody.
Don't tell anybody. But anyway,
Uh,
it's true. They don't read it because auditing, I'm telling you, in the United States, I teach the exam. I'm telling you, this is high. Have the CIA.
really.
15% of auditors. How many doctors in a hospital are certified?
But
If you had a guess.
Are you talking about the U.S.
United States.
as a whole? Yeah,
As a
I mean,
country.
as a country. Again, the numbers cannot be compared.
Yeah, in our, let's take an example. In our chapter, we have around 35% of our members who are CIA certified.
That's phenomenal. That's high. Not in New York chapter.
New York
chapter,
how about
less than
you,
10%.
Ahmad, in Jordan, you have the statistics as well.
Yes, our member around 250, and the number of certifieds around I forget the number, maybe 109. But you know that the members maybe they
About
change to
50%.
another chapters. It's not to reflect actual what you have, and some of them is not active CIAs. We cannot match in fortune how.
I think we could agree that it's low. Because Ahmed, how many doctors in a hospital are certified? If you had a guess.
And
How many?
All of them.
In the Middle East.
All of them.
Yeah.
But for us, it's okay. 10% is okay. You know.
I was afraid.
The life of patients is at stake. So this is why.
Yeah.
And the life of the organization.
And our audit's life is at stake because our patient is the audit.
The life of the organization is at stake now.
Exactly. The life of the organization is at stake. It is. Again, and not to be too tough on anyone, just I get people's attention. And we are doing this virtually, so you're listening. You know?
Jordan has 149 CIA.
Wow.
Lebanon has 223.
Wow, that's fantastic.
This
That's
is
149.
It's more than 35%.
Yeah, this is
35?
More than 35. It's around,
Well, don't forget,
around the 50.
in New York City, and I was president,
45, 50.
we had 4,300 members, and we had about 375 CIAs.
Ah,
Really?
Yeah.
People don't want to get it. They don't want to get it. I teach it. He knows. Hassam knows. Hassam, how big is the class? You teach the CIA. You have 100 people in the class?
Not many. Not many.
Exactly. People don't want to take it. I don't know why. I think if you get it, you make money. I think it's a great thing.
It's a great investment to
yourself.
To yourself.
To yourself.
Yeah. The problem in the Middle East is the CIA learning system is too expensive for many of the countries outside the Gulf area. And in the Gulf, a lot of companies would be willing to sponsor their employees to take the classes and pay for them and so on. It's different in Lebanon, Jordan, Egypt, Yemen. Yemen has 13 CIAs.
Well, how come United States is so low, though?
Because Yemen is going through hard time versus 1,400 in the UAE.
Yeah. Well, listen, United States, they could afford the $200 for the learning system. That's not the problem. The problem is they don't want to take it.
Right.
You know, people.
No, we have a lot of people professionals will be willing to take it if it is partially financed or
some.
financed.
In 2018, I had 100 auditors. I had 30 new out of college. I hired 30 new that year. We had some turnover. 30 new.
Right.
I sent an email to the 30 and said, I will pay for the CIA exam. I will pay for the learning system.
Right.
I will let you study during work.
Right. That's the right thing to do.
Yeah. Out of 30, one person said, okay, I'll do it.
You're kidding me.
No. One.
Full of ambition.
I put the 29 people in a room. I said, Not for nothing, and I'm not mad, but I just want to understand, why wouldn't you want to do this? I mean, I got to pay for everything. I let you study doing work. One at a I said, I just got to know why. I said, I'm not going to hold it against you. You don't have to take it. I just want to know why, you know? And they gave me, I'm afraid of failing. I don't want to be embarrassed and fail.
We'll find you a job in the Middle East and you offer the people, the CIA, you pay for it, and we'll make them take it. Don't worry.
That's right. That's true.
We need a chief audit such as yourself here.
Exactly. Yeah. So, again, the Agile auditor, you know, to making sure we could do things faster, because an audit is a long process. We need to be faster in what we audit. We have to identify the risks quicker, better. Changing priorities. We're living in a world of changing priorities. Darwin said, "It's not the strongest that survive or the most intelligent. It's who responds to change, who deals with change." The pandemic is this. The pandemic is the most responsive to change is going to be around. That's what's been showing. In France, I love France. I used to go to France. Before those, the 4 countries that I want to visit, and you have to agree that I can visit it once this pandemic is over in 21, maybe 22. But I went to France, and I went to this cathedral in Paris. It's Notre Dame Cathedral. And it's one of the most beautiful buildings in the world. Forget about the religion aspect. Right. Just from a building, it is a beautiful building. Right. And the safety department of this business, because the Notre Dame Cathedral is a business too, said it will never burn down. They put low risk management, safety department, not even management. The safety department said, the risk of this building burning down,
none.
Oh, it's low.
Right. And it's happened.
Now, I could ask you this question. If I told you that this building has wood that's 700 years old, that it's got, you know, built 1,000 years ago, just like you did with the tunnel in the water, you would tell me, yeah, that building could burn down. An auditor would look at this and say, it's high. So your challenge is, how do you get this to management? Because management wants to call it this. Because if management calls this low, it needs to spend less money. That's how risk works. Do you think they want to change the wood in this building? That costs a lot of money. So they said, leave it alone. That will never happen. Remember, I talked to you about that when we started with our session here about risk. How do I get my, I got to clear my out. Okay. My mouse.
But
a few more slides. Yes.
But you know, Michael, if we have asked management that question before the pandemic, they would have said,
never.
Never. Now, thanks to COVID-19, one of the positive things did, and auditors need to take advantage of, management now knows that anything can happen.
You know,
what do you think?
Because we're in it. But I bet you 5 years, 10 years from now, because I could show you things. I could tell you things. I could tell you things about, and you can Google it, hiring a blind security guard in the New World Trade Center.
Right.
A blind security guard. Did you hear what I said?
Was he there at 9/11?
No, the new building.
And a new building. As a security guard.
20 years later. As a security guard. You can Google it.
Really? Okay.
What's that tell you? You know, people forget.
People forget. You're right.
You know, during the emergency, it's, oh, yeah. But once it's over, it's over. You watch the pandemic 6 months later, you know, we'll be back to normal, if there is a normal. I think we're still going to work at home and things of that nature. But, you know, I think we'll have some ramification. But people forget. And how much you're going to spend, you know. There's an airline. This is a great story. An airline on risk. You want to drill it. An airline, not my airline, but an airline, a big airline in the United States. They sent me a letter. I don't fly them much, and maybe this is why. They sent me a letter after the pandemic and said, we want you back. We want you back as a customer I have not been on a plane in 9 months. We want you back. And we got this machine now that goes down the plane and it cleans it, it sprays it. We have new air filters. They sent me the picture of the air filter. We're going to wipe it down, the whole plane. So when you get on, you're going to be safe. Now I'm an auditor. I didn't believe them. 2 months later, they went on the news and they said, they wrote me another letter. Well, you know, our new cleaning procedures have been slowing down our takeoffs. We're not leaving on time. We're not leaving on time as we were. So we're not going to clean the belt. You know the belt when you sit down?
Right.
We're not going to clean the belt anymore. Okay?
Sanitize it, you mean?
Let me ask you this. What's the most important thing that you should clean? The belt.
The safety belt, yeah.
The belt is the most important thing that I touch. I touch it to close it. I touch it to open it, close it to go to the bathroom. I touch it all the time. They just send me a letter that we're not cleaning the belt anymore. They have 70% less revenue. 70% less revenue. They're worried about on time. Their priorities are in the wrong place. This is during the pandemic. This is a major airline. This is not Mike's airline. This is a major airline like United. And it wasn't United, but it's a big airline. I won't tell you the name, but it was, you know, and I think that's what internal auditors would do is tell management, let's audit the strategy and what's the risk, you know, to what we do. I want this question and then we'll wrap up. I think toward the end. I talked to you about 60% of information is not used. Remember that, Hussam?
Yes.
And what kind of sampling do we use? You're all auditors. We have almost 100 auditors on the call. Do we use statistical sampling, judgmental sampling, artificial intelligence, big data? How do we pick a sample? Because we're testing the controls. Correct, Hussam?
Yes, sir.
Let's see how many
Well, judgmental was winning, but it's going backwards.
Which one's winning?
Judgmental was winning, but now we're going into statistics, judgmental. Well, here you go.
But almost 50%.
Yeah, 50-50.
50%. And I'm glad to see the 750. This is high. Normally when I ask this question and I ask it, and Hussam, please feel free to ask it, because we need to ask auditors all over the world this question. This is the value question.
Right.
This is the most important question about how do you add value. Let's go to our chart here of the example that I gave.
Right.
This is PayPal. It's something like eBay in the United States.
Yeah.
They have 4.9 billion transactions. They have 188 million customers. Judgmental sampling, if we had the time, when I ask this question around the world and live, they tell me we picked 30. That's what judgmental sampling is.
Mm-hmm.
We pick 30. Well, let me ask our audience this. If you have, and forget about these numbers, these are too high. Let's talk about my company and payroll. I have 65,000 employees. Okay? And I'm telling you, Hussam, I'm going to go test the payroll, and I want to make sure that these people were paid properly. Okay? Right. And I'm going to go judgmentally pick 30 employees.
Yeah.
What kind of luck do you think you're going to find anything when you pick 30?
Zilch.
And that's what we do. And 30 is high. We look at the process flow. They say, well, wait. And I talk to external auditors. External auditors in the United States, they pick 3.
Confidence rate is high.
Yeah, right, very high. They look at the business process flows. But the business process flows are written correctly. You're not going to find anything, maybe a little bit, on the business process flow, but you're not going to find fraud on the business process flow. The flow chart doesn't say increase revenue, yes, and then do this. If no, commit fraud. It doesn't say that on the process flow, commit fraud. It shows you the way you're going to do it correctly. So if you're an auditor that's picking 30, picking 20, and I've talked to many in the audit department about this, and this question could lead to arguments. But the world today, you want to be agile. You have to use artificial intelligence. You have to use big data. You have to use at least statistical sampling. And statistical sampling has its own issues because you have bias in the sample. And we can all get into that another time. But what I want to leave you with, you want to be an agile internal auditor. The standards make us almost tie our hands. I'm telling you, open your hands and open your brain and think. Not every audit. Compliance auditing is important. Don't get me wrong. But, test more than 30. That's like the doctor says to you, I'm going to do an operation on you. But you didn't do any tests. Well, I don't need to test. I can just look at you and tell you need an operation. You got to do your testing. You have to go do your sample. And it's a whole myth and not true that it takes more time. It takes more time, but not a lot more time. I figured out on an average audit, to me, it took me 4 more days to do the right testing. I'll spend 4 days and do the testing. Then do 30. And what you said, Assam, you do 30 and find nothing. And you say everything's okay because you don't know anything else. And then you say, how do I find value? This is what internal auditors want. How do I get value? How do I get impact? How do I make a difference? Well, you got to do more than 30. Because in an organization like this, which is, 5 billion transactions, 188 million customers. How do you audit that? Even my organization is 7 million riders. How do I test to make sure 7 million riders are paying the revenue? I can't pick 30.
Right. No. I'm saying that because my last organization as well, it had about 35,000 employees, and we were serving 5 million refugees in the region.
UN, yes.
Yeah. So if I want to make a test, I can't take just 30.
And your control
بس خلص معك أنا وياكي.
Janine, please mute yourself. Thank you.
And in the control environment, again, in your world, there's probably the controls were very hard to get. A lot of things was done by cash too.
Exactly. A lot of that. I'm saying, but Michael, I want to pick your brain on this.
Sure, and ask questions now. Let's go to our question portion.
Yeah. Do you think after the pandemic, which is the time of lockdown and since March has, in my opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong, has accelerated the digital and the IT and the artificial intelligence
I think so, yes. But
concept, which we were, as auditors, fearing and resisting. And management, it was the least thing on management's agenda or budget, that if you want a software or something that would tell you we don't have money for, and so on and so forth. I think the few months that since March has shifted that completely, because also businesses are going online. So
exactly. But I think the business function, and you're 100% correct. The business function, though, is still way ahead of internal audit. I think us adapting to artificial intelligence, we're behind. The business is ahead. Like, take my company here. My company here is using AI. This man is using a cell phone to measure the track. So I think what we can do is find out how management is using AI and then go audit it. But internal auditors, we are still not have used AI. We're very low. Banks maybe are more advanced in this area than regular audit departments. Go ahead.
So this is exactly an advice you want to give the auditors.
I think that number one is
skills.
well, you up skills through learning. I mean, we could take training, of course, but the best way to do it, go on your audits, ask your departments that you're auditing, are you using artificial intelligence? A lot of departments are going to say yes. And then go find out how they're using it. And then you audit it versus you developing AI. I think it's going to be hard for you to develop AI procedures. Go find out how management is using AI procedures and go find out, go audit how they're using it for. Are they using it correctly? Do they have the right rules that they're looking for when they use it? Like, let's take this person in the picture. He's using the phone to tell you to track thickness. You can go compare his calculations to the standards, which is sort of like compliance auditing, to say, is he using analytic or AI correctly? So I think go audit your customers first rather than you trying to figure out, how am I going to use artificial intelligence in my audits? I think you'll just go around in circles doing that. You follow me, Hussam?
Yeah. I'm with you very much.
Was there any questions from the audience? I would like to take them.
Sarah Sucker said that healthcare sector.
With COVID-19 shut down many departments.
Right.
Shortage in PPE risks double in this sector. Absolutely. And let me tell you, Asad, I don't know if you work in that industry, but if that's your company, those are your employees that are in danger.
Right.
And your employees are the most important resource your company has. So, yeah, you have to go find out, where my employees go do audits. You got to go audit COVID-19 as well, to say, how am I protecting my employees? How am I protecting the customers? Now, we're probably protecting the customers a lot better because we're not letting them in the stores. But yes, you got to go find out, what new risks did COVID create in that pie chart that I showed you earlier. Okay. Good.
Yeah, and fraud is increasing in the healthcare as well.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mike, excuse me.
Yes,
don't you think that the artificial intelligence would constitute a big threat for the internal audit? Because at a point in time, you feel that the automation of functions is replacing the manpower in different functions, like
true analytics.
Going into the future, you feel that lot of functions will disappear. And will be left with fewer resources. Among them, the internal audit, I think, would be.
Well, internal audit has to change, but and I'll draw it here. AI is not going to replace the brain. Okay, it's going to act like the brain.
Definitely. But it's going to reduce the resources.
But it could create new resources. Because what internal auditors have to do is adapt. It's going to remove. It's going to take away compliance auditing because I don't need a person to do compliance auditing, but I need a person to go look at the exceptions. So when management is using AI for compliance auditing, I'm talking about the operations, you got to come through as the auditor and say, okay, you use AI, like in here it says analytical approach. What did you find? And what did you do about it? So your monitoring is going to increase. You're going to become monitoring the monitor, which AI is going to be the monitor. That's going to change the role. But I think you're right. It could be less auditors. That's why we need to be agile and adopt.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Good question. Hussam, so I guess that's an hour and a half. I know it's dinner time there. I know not to stand in the way of dinner. And it's how time is it there? 8:30 at night. I commend you all.
If anybody has a question for Michael, please mention in the chat so he can answer your question.
The drawback to Mohammed to Agile auditing, and please join me on LinkedIn. I'll give you my name. You could join me on LinkedIn. I'll be glad to any questions on the road you want to know. The drawbacks of Agile auditing is that you may not have an Agile company. You can't have Agile auditing if your company is not Agile. So you have to ask yourself, is your company flexible? Does it change well? Does it change easily? And then you say, well, what do I do? Well, you have to help create that change without them knowing it. You can't say, I'm going to change you. But through your audits, through your recommendations, you have to talk about how they could do things differently in order to be more agile. But don't say we're going to make you agile, because, you know, it's like saying, you know, we use COSO. Don't say, according to COSO, you know, just don't talk like that. It's great to be an auditor, just don't act like one. Create change without talking about change, which is your recommendations, by the way, is change. If you think about it.
Michael, can you stop sharing your screen, please?
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
So we can answer some questions and take a group photo before we leave.
Oh, that'll be very nice.
Right.
Yes, the wine has to be integrated in the thing. Let me take a picture too. I want to see this. This is a nice picture.
Okay, everyone, if you would like, please feel free to switch on your video. It's up to you. Just to take a group photo, please.
How many did we get on YouTube? Did you see?
No,
Sorry?
Hello, everyone. How are you? I hope we didn't give you a headache to anyone.
That was very valuable information, Michael, and
thank you.
Smooth and easy, and it's you shared practical experiences, and I think that is what everybody needed. Not a lecture, but
discussion.
It's an interaction, yeah. It's an interactive session, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. If you want me, you know where to find me. In my basement.
Sure, sure.
Until I can make this big, I'm here. So if you need me, inshallah, I hope to see you all live. I want to thank you so much. And
thank you, Michael.
Visit you in person someday. But Hussam, we'll be in touch. We'll talk. Set up a call. We'll talk about some things for later in the week.
I'm sure. Yes, for sure.
Set up a call. But thank you, everyone.
And
stay safe, stay well.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you so
Stay
much.
safe and stay well. Stay safe and stay well.
All right.
Bye, Hussam.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all for your attendance.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Hussam, for organizing this event.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Not at all. Thank you all
Bye-bye.
for participating. I see a lot of friends like Malik.
Yeah, I know a lot of faces.
A lot of familiar faces. Thank you so much, and let's stay in touch. And hopefully we can count on Michael again to come again, and maybe we can include more chapters as well from the region.
Absolutely.
Anytime. You let me know when I'm there.
And hopefully, Michael, we can invite you to Beirut soon.
Please. I make the rice, inshallah. I need the rice.
Inshallah.
I have to have the rice, though. And the lamb. I need lamb. I need
Excuse me.
Beautiful lamb I have. I love lamb.
Well, next time it comes to the region, we bring
some lamb.
Jordan, Egypt, Lebanon.
I need a shish kebab. That's what my
shish kebab,
my son's father-in-law makes.
Mr. Hussam, Hisham is speaking.
Alan Hisham, تفضل. Hisham.
Because you know poor connection of internet here. There is no video, but I would like to
يلا بيجي بساعدك بس خلص.
for arranging this event. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sam. Good to see you.
I want to say that Mike is trying to say we usually, provide insights. We should go beyond this and give four sites.
Yes.
And thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hazam, set up the meeting out this week. We'll do something.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Michael, do you want to give a quick brief about the Internal Audit Foundation that you chaired for a while?
Yeah, that's the research foundation. I mean, I was president of the foundation, and those are the ones that make these books, the books that you use, the standards. They're the ones. It's a voluntary organization that works on for donations that creates the material that we use. Right. So it's a very, very good, worthwhile cause. If you want to give a donation, please do. I know they're tough times now. don't have to. But Hussam is on the board of that. And, you know, as internal auditors, we're really helping each other. That's what this profession is about.
And it doesn't matter how much you want to contribute. It's $3, $5. It doesn't matter. Although the dollar is worth a lot in the Middle East and now in Lebanon as well.
Oh, good. Then I got to come there.
Right.
I have to come there. I got to buy some things. I got to buy some shirts. I got to buy some shirts.
Yeah, I tell you, the dollar went from 1.5 to almost 8 now.
Wow. I'll be a millionaire there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Lebanese pounds.
As soon as you land, you become a millionaire.
And then I get my own plane.
Exactly.
Bye, everyone. Take care.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mike.
Let me know how it went. The surveys, if you do surveys on.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
We can tell immediately it's going very well and everybody is enjoying everybody. This is the most interactive webinar we had so far. So,
really? Wow.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Don't tell Richard Chambers.
No, I'm telling you. I'm telling you, it's very interactive and people
it was.
Question and
Thank you very much.
We'll do it again. Thank you, everyone. I know that I'm going to
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Stay well.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, sir.